and then in the UK, something like that.
There you go.
That's about it.
And it's smart that you hit it behind your screen.
I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was doing.
The thing that's great too is we get to sit
Okay,
here.
I think we're back now.
We get to smile.
Sound is good?
And Emily, the other cool thing is, okay, we're on YouTube Live, and I feel badly for them, but the fare that you see from our crew behind the cameras, and they're doing an awesome job. It's an awesome setup, everything along those lines. It's cool, it's okay. It's gonna happen, we're good. So
yeah, the sound is working now.
Now we can actually talk about the fact that we're here in Vegas. We're at the Horseshoe, 500 plus players. You said you've worked in the industry behind the scenes for this for 10 years. This is your first time playing. So first off, differences because you're preparing for work compared to play? I'm sure it has to be more fun playing, but what's the preparation going into it from both aspects?
So the thing with when I was doing with Brisnet, and this was back when we would hand out the PPs for each individual track, it definitely gave me a crash course in dealing with having things shipped and the timing and all that, which I'm sure running a racetrack, you have a lot of different moving parts there. So there was some pressure because the guys and gals in the room, they want their PPs ASAP. There were definitely some nervous moments when things weren't available. So I felt bad, okay, I'm disappointing them. Now that I'm playing, I don't want to disappoint myself.
Right.
And Emily and I have talked about this and other players. The psychological aspect of playing something like this, obviously getting on the board right away, I think is going to help, takes the edge off a little bit. But those instances where like, oh, I used a 5-1 and the 15-1 you liked wins instead, like that messes with your head. Like that, I could see causing me sleep. So
well, hopefully there's not a scenario where you like a 15-1 and you play a 5-1. Hopefully that doesn't happen to anybody in the room. That's one of those things when you talk about when you're playing that. There's certain things like we have the technical difficulties, and there's things like that, like your horse doesn't get out of the gate and it stumbles. These are things that are completely out of your control. The things that you don't want to do are those type of mistakes, is making those mistakes along the way, because you're not going to hit every single one. I mean, maybe eventually over time someone will, but it's just not in the odds, so to speak, to do that. So you want to minimize the mistakes. And Jim touched on it, you touched on it a bit, that you got on the board, your first play of the day, was able to hit the 9-1, which so far is the highest score, but it's early days.
Me and 19 others.
Yeah.
Did you screenshot the leaderboard?
I have not yet.
I would.
So what, the first play of the day for a lot of people is such a task to pull, when am I going to pull the trigger, right? Is this the right spot? I know so many people that don't want to play early. I want to conserve my bullets. What was kind of your thought process as far as picking your early spot?
I definitely was thinking, I don't want to keep sitting and waiting for the right moment and then a horse wins and I feel like I missed the moment.
Yeah.
So I like the horse. If it were 5-1 or 6, I probably would have passed. But everything about the double Will Pays was telling me we're going to get 8 or 9-1. The action on the board was clearly tilted toward the favorites. I was like, this is, when I set a game plan, these are the types of horses I wanted. So it was one of those I can't let this horse beat me is my first pick and set the tone for the day. And I felt very comfortable, even if it didn't run well, I felt comfortable. I got the price I wanted on a horse I legitimately liked, and I was comfortable with it. So for me, it set a good tone, and then winning, obviously.
And that's the big distinction that sometimes when we talk about, you want to play who you like, but who you like also has to come down to the number, right? So making those correct decisions, okay, I like this horse, I like this. First of all, it's I like this race, right? Because these are favorites that I'm willing to take on, right? So this is a playable race, and now my opportunity is waiting for that right horse at the right number.
And I'm not sure if this is the right way to think about it. It's my first time and how everyone plays differently. I actually there were some races where, okay, man, I really don't like this favorite, which is a great way to start. But then I was like, man, there's 2 or 3 in here that could be $20 horses. I actually didn't like those races because I don't want to be in a spot where I feel like I'm flipping a coin to take one 10-1 over another. Because then that's another way to set yourself up for heartbreak.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like as you get later in the tournament, eventually, depending on the scores you need, you might just need a 10-1 and hope you pick right. But this early in the day, that's not a position I want to be in. I want to have conviction about.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the contest format is you look at different qualifying contests, like a lot of the Hawthorne qualifying contests are your live bankroll type of thing. You can play gimmicks. You can play
Right.
horses where you can look at the price. So look at a contest here. It's win place. There's a cap. Things along those lines. So I actually think your strategy pays off striking early on a horse that you felt confident about, because you probably are going to hit the end of the day, and there are going to be people reaching because they're chasing a little bit. So when you look at a day like today, all right, it's 6 mandatory races, you're stuck with those. But over the course of those optionals, then, are you just going to try to hopefully spread them out throughout the course of the day, or just find those races that you have that conviction on and really focus there?
I'm not sure what kind of TV this will make for, because it's small, but you can see it.
Yep.
But I basically did a spreadsheet sorted by time where horses I think could be playable.
Sure.
Now, I had one for Gulfstream Race 1, which is coming up, and he's 6-1 now, but just based on what I was looking at, I was thinking it would be 5-1 in the 7-horse field.
Sure.
Yeah.
And when you consider place money, like,
Yeah, especially with it if you get some of the chalks in
decide,
there. Yeah.
I just decided not for me. But this is an easy way to look at it, and just as each race comes, if I get the price I want, I'm going to play it.
So this is your first tournament, and you built a spreadsheet. So what was that, like something that you heard somebody did? Is that something that you do on your regular kind of day in and day out play?
This is an NHC first time doing something like this.
But this is something that's common for players to build a spreadsheet. So like, did you hear from somebody, or was it
like a lot of people talk like the macro if you want to be prepared, and that doesn't necessarily mean you need every race handicap top to bottom, but you need some plan of managing your time.
Right,
basically.
right,
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Forget just the horse playing aspect of it, which obviously is important, but the managing your time with 9 tracks today
Yeah.
is like, there's going to come a point where there's probably 4 or 5 races going on within a few minutes of each other, and just having it planned like that is going to be invaluable.
Okay, so who was your number at Gulfstream here, just so we can ask?
The 7.
All right, so we want to just to kind of check and see. But here's the thing too that you have to know: sometimes a pass is okay, even if the horse does run well. So, are you going to feel better here if the horse runs well, knowing you had it tabbed, or are you going to feel better that you passed if the horse and want the horse to not run well?
I'd love a third by a nose and a nose.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that
So a good run, but
Yep.
right out of the
Right.
money.
Right.
Like my handicapping was good, my decision-making process was
honestly,
even better.
Even a second wouldn't, like,
No, not
that
at all,
you don't
that's
want
fine.
place money. Once you're in, you'll take it, but I'm not playing these races to cash the middle.
And that's the hardest thing too, is because especially early in the day, you have to get a feel for the weather condition, how the track is
Right.
playing, things along those lines. So when you're looking at that, if you can strike early, it's a huge benefit for you, but there probably are a lot of players that are sitting out here and you're going to say, I want to see 2 or 3 races, see if I can pick up any type of bias or anything along those lines too.
And the other, thing for me is fairgrounds and turfway are those
Yep.
are the tracks
Yep.
I actually play
Yep.
on a daily basis.
This looks like a good pass, by the way.
Yeah, he's scrubbing. And they're at the end of the day today.
Right, right.
So, and I'm the most comfortable with those. So I definitely in my head am thinking, like, okay, if I get to Turfway and know I need a price, I'm comfortable enough with these horsemen and horses to take one.
And the good thing about it, because you did strike early, you can kind of make sure that you focus in those spots there.
Right.
So this turns out to be a great play for you, Ed. We know you have another pick that's coming up pretty soon here in the next 5 or 10 minutes, but we want to thank you for joining us. First time
Thank
playing.
you for qualifying me.
Man, we
Yeah,
have so many
exactly. We didn't
qualifiers.
Even
in
mention that
Hawthorne.
I'm Team Hawthorne.
Your
Well,
team, well, you're
I think
always
we talked
Team
about it,
Hawthorne,
maybe on
exactly.
a Spaces or on one of the
It
other.
has come up.
People that watch our content, they watch everything, every minute, so they've heard.
Yeah.
We'll probably have you back around because none of us are going anywhere. We're all in this. We're all trapped in this room for 3 minutes.
Yes.
But best of luck to you this weekend, Ed.
I appreciate the time.
Ed DeRosa, first-time qualifier, Hawthorne qualifier, win the big bucks, buddy. So
That's
we'll
the
see.
plan.
We'll see how things
While
go.
we're
for
getting
Ed.
the mics talk about, we should talk about the qualifying for Hawthorne tournaments because there's a lot of people in this room that have qualified to Hawthorne.
You got 20-plus qualifiers coming out of Hawthorne. You got people playing for the $1 million bonus. We were talking to Eddie Olczyk earlier. Eddie's the guy that's in here, and he's the most happy-go-lucky guy in the world. But when you're out there
Good
playing
guy.
for that $1 million bonus and you're looking at the potential to possibly go in and make big bucks, this is the cool thing, too, as we're shuffling in when one of my buddies about to sit down next to me, is to have that ability to go out there and play for that $1 million bonus. So you get some guys where it's going to be a little bit more pressured as you move along. But our next 2 guests, I've known them for a long time, starting out through horse ownership, knowing they were horse players. But you talk about final table pressure. Somebody's felt it a little bit here. We have Mel and Steve Simonovich. Welcome, guys. First off,
Jim.
Thanks for coming out here. And I'll tell you, you get a father-son duo and contest players. What's it like being out here playing together? And what are you hoping for this weekend?
Well, we've been out here together a lot of times. This is probably your third trip out here.
All from Hawthorne, by the way. I can't qualify anywhere
Yeah,
else.
and he's even come out when he didn't qualify, but now he's qualifying.
Yeah.
So it's a family affair. A lot of my brothers have been here too. This event is like a convention.
Yep.
You get to meet everybody that you talk to on Twitter and social media for the first time, sometimes, or since the last time you were here. So you have that, and then the tournament itself is very unique because it's there's a lot of action in the room when these races are going off, especially the mandatories, when everybody has an opinion. They have to have an opinion in that race. So, but yeah, it's exciting. I've done really poorly. I've done really well here. And everything in between.
But I feel like that's how, sorry to cut you off, but I feel like that's how you should play. Like, you should be playing for the top.
Right.
And if you don't hit the top, you're probably going to hit the bottom.
Correct.
Right? Like, you're either going to win or you're not. And like, that's why you're here, because it's so top heavy.
Yes.
You want to. I mean, when you're in a cash game, you have a 5-2 shot. You like at like a Hawthorne contest. Day 1 and 2, I won't play those type of horses, but if you're in position on end of day 2 or day 3, and you need a $7 horse, yeah, you could play it.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to keep that in mind too. Although what I say on the first day is, you're not going to win it. You don't want to lose it. You don't want a goose egg.
Right.
You don't want to come out of here with 16 plays and have like $5. It's going to be hard to dig yourself out of that. So just get your feet wet, make some good plays, and hopefully you'll hit at least 1 or 2 like 8-1, 10-1 shots.
And Dakota, there's the cool thing. He's our man stepping in, checking the mics. He's got
Should be good. Yeah, we got the
Mel,
green light on.
don't feel like you're in trouble, Mel. You haven't done anything wrong.
I'm comfortable.
It's one of those things when you're dealing with your kids and that you talk about just horse playing as a whole. Everything for you, I mean, you've been involved in horse racing for a long time, owning horses, playing horses, everything along those lines. How did you get started for bringing your kids into the sport a little bit and then getting them into playing contests like this?
Well, my father got me in it, and he also got my kids in it.
Okay.
Hawthorne is the first track I've ever been to, so it has a soft spot in my heart. And my dad, I brought the boys to track, of course, with me. My dad used to go, and they enjoyed it. He'd win. He's much better handicapper than I was. He won a lot of money, and Steve would sit there and count it.
Right.
Say, I never saw so much money. I said, you could lose just as much. So
I didn't know that.
you got to be careful. But really, my dad was an avid horse fan, not on the owner's side.
Sure.
So when we're talking about, one of the things that you said is like, you can't lose it on the first day, you can't win it on the first day, and not having a goose egg. But we looked at yesterday, right? Yesterday's tournament was the first chance, last chance, a one-day tournament. It's even actually less races than it is on Friday and Saturday, just based on the number of tracks that are running. But if you look at those scores yesterday, they were pretty high. What was it, like 150?
159.
159 won it. So in one day, you know that you can put up a big score, right? Sometimes people, I feel like, coming into this tournament, they're like, okay, I'm just going to grind one day, and then when you see those one-day tournaments, when it's like there's no day 2, you just send, you play hard, and you play to win. And do you ever think, like, if we're taking kind of that kind of strategy, like, what if I was going to try to win it all today? Like, how would I play this and kind of change that from a strategy standpoint?
I guess you could treat it like normal, like we played online events. This is similar, but it's on steroids. So you have to definitely hit the price horse in those, like horse tourneys and horse players. You have to hit those horses. If you don't have that horse, you're not going to qualify. So I guess if you look at it that way, whether you hit a capper or if it's 8-1, I'm just saying just don't come out of here with a goose egg because it's a 2-day event. Because if you have a 0, it's going to be very difficult to.
But you can still, yes, it 100% is difficult. But like we just saw yesterday, you can't put the 159.
By the way, 16 plays a day.
Yes.
20 tomorrow.
Yes.
Right.
So that kind of changes.
That's a lot.
Right.
That's a lot.
So, all right, so Steve, for this contest, you've had some great runs, some really deep runs. So how does things shift for you when you get down? Okay, you're sitting, you're looking at a final table, and I mean, you have to feel a little bit of pressure, but also knowing you're going to make some money. What's the experience like for that? Because it's got to be a huge high just getting to that point and then saying, okay, I still got to hunker down and battle to the end.
Yeah, you play a little looser, and you already got money in your pocket.
Right.
And I remember, I think it was 2019 when I made the final table. I picked a horse at Golden Gate that won its debut by 6 in a hand ride. And I normally don't like playing maiden breakers against winners next time.
Yep.
But this one looks so good on paper and on the replay too. I was like, I'm going to play it. It's 6-1. Well, it broke down in that race and it never ran back. And then Jonathan Wong won that race at 11-1, and Scott Coles had it.
Yep.
So that was kind of a bittersweet thing, but you know, you just got to have your opinion. It got me to that final table. I like this horse. Did I know it was going to break down? No, but you know, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. You know.
What was when you played and when you had success? What was your kind of strategy going in, or what were some of the keys that kind of?
Well, back then I was actually an editor for Scott Carson's PublicHandicapper.com for 7 years, and I'm automatically looking at 4 races that day. I think I hit like 3 of the 4 races, including a Doug O'Neill from the far outside post going down the hill at Santa Anita. And I remember on the second day, it's funny, we were talking about my first day. My first day wasn't that great. My second day, I hit like 7 races in a row.
Yeah.
And including a capper and maybe 2 of them, I can't remember, but lots of good price horses came in. I guess, you know, some people say don't over prepare or don't under prepare and everything, but I mean, you have to just look at about 10 opinions, really good. I watch replays. That's a big thing for me. I like company lines. I dig into the formulator, and I like to see who these horses are running against. Trip notes are big for me. I have a database in my formulator. Back then, interestingly, I didn't use formulator like that. Mm-hmm. So I was just kind of like using my own like memory off of these
your
horses.
observations going off paper, yeah.
So I've kind of evolved more, and I've been doing a lot more cash game stuff now, and I've kind of learned here like cash games are different from here. Like you have to really have you gotta think outside of the box. Like that's what I'm telling my dad. My dad likes he'll pick his own horses. He'll see this horse. It's not going to lose. It's 5-2. But then you got this other one that's 7-1, 8-1 that doesn't look. It looks similar. So you got go with the odds and go with that one.
Well, you mentioned that because you are an owner, and so if you do like your horse, you can't play it, right?
Well, there's a rule. Like
how does it work? Yeah.
So what's the rule?
The rule is you can't play my horse. I can't play my horse. But in the Hawthorne tournaments, I can.
Right.
Yeah, well,
right.
Well,
but a tournament like this, right? Because you had some horses. Steve and I previewed a card, and you had horses that were running at Oakland Park.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you see some, so it could be some. You could be ready to go. You know you're going to have a big day, and you're a price, and you're required to pass.
He qualified with betting his horse last year.
Yeah, sure.
Belly Dancer.
49-1
up front.
That's
she
right.
walked ahead, Bob. I back wheeled her and better. That's the only bet I hit, but it put me up.
Sometimes that's all it takes. Yeah. Now I'm sitting there, I'm watching Steve kind of talking about the final table, and I look at you, Mel, and you can just see how proud you are of him, just and everything. And I got to do the podcast with Steve and with Marco, and just the passion that you see. It's so cool. So for you, I mean, you have to be proud of these guys anyway because they're your kids. Yeah. But just to see the way that they progressed, how cool is that for you?
That's great. And they are a much better tournament players than I'll ever be as far as this format. When I look at a form, I'm always looking to claim the next horse because I love owning horses. So unfortunately, they're not really a good price. But my son Steve really is top notch. I always ask him what's his play of the day, and I'll go on the computer and bet it. So
he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And so now, and you had mentioned you got a brother who's training.
Danny. He's gonna have his first start next week with one of my horses that I own since he was a baby. Horse is 0 for 23, so that's the one he's setting out.
So if he wins, then he should just retire right there with that
Put him in the
horse.
Hall of Fame.
Perfectly, absolutely undefeated, and go from there.
And we're excited about we saw that the Hawthorne meet goes from March coming up, all the way through into the fall.
Yeah, second week of October, right. And this year we're starting 2-year-old races earlier, so 2-year-olds will be on the track in May. Turf racing will start in May. 6 weeks later on the grass at the end of the meet. So it provides a lot more opportunities for everybody to get out there. You've asked, hey, is there room if we want to come your way? Of course there's room if you want to come our way and race. So
I'm going to have a good presence there, sure.
Nice.
Because I like, it's not far, I can go sit and watch them. And enjoy myself.
You can watch your horses. It's a really good racing surface. Everything, you race without bias, and that's the thing that gives you a shot too. So it's one of those things where we're definitely.
I'm not as old to Hawthorne as this table. So being like a new player and like developing with Hawthorne, it's such a good, from a player standpoint, a good track to play because especially this last season. Fair surfaces, sound surfaces. The horses are running back. They're running back constantly, so you get to see them. And then as an owner, if you want to come out, I know like during the harness season, I was like, I want to get a horse because I can come out every week and watch and like have like a route. Like, I mean, I just think that's great. And obviously, like, supporting kind of your hometown team is perfect.
I love Hawthorne, and I love betting there. Certain tracks you master. Hawthorne's one of them. I got a short list. Santa Anita's another one I really like. Oak Lawn is okay for me, and I like Gulfstream. So.
Well, I know when we were I think it was last year when we were here, you're giving some really great stories about being an owner at Hawthorne. I don't even know if some of them we can put on air, but I know you have.
Jim probably knows a couple good
stories. I know you have some great stories.
Actually, Jim got me out of a little trouble one time. So.
Racetrack life, you can't beat it.
You can't you can't attack trainers and vice versa, right?
You help your friends, and everything works out in the end.
Yeah.
So guys, all right. So 10 optional races, 6 mandatory races today. Are you kind of spacing them out throughout the course of the day? Any type of strategy going in, or are you just kind of wait and see what the prices are?
What are you going to do?
I got all my mandatories kind of selected already.
Okay.
And just 2.
Your optionals?
Optionals.
Okay.
I'm still looking. So.
Okay. How about you, Steve?
I have 2 entries. I'm thinking about playing both entries the same today.
Okay.
I have 2 opinions in at Oakland already, race 2 and race 5 as a mandatory. Saw a couple of races at Gulfstream that I like. Other than that, we'll see. But I plan on just double picking everything.
I think that's been a pretty effective strategy just as far as the people that have been able to advance with a couple entries is doing that and then getting to the point where they'll say like machine gun out once you get to once you get to that certain
Hopefully
point.
I'll do okay, and then day 2 I can, like you said, machine gun out, spread out.
Yeah.
Have different opinions on each card.
Well, good. Well, guys, let's get you to that point. Best of luck to you. Hopefully, we're talking to you again a little bit later this weekend because we're talking final table. But thanks for coming out. I'm going to see you during the Hawthorne meet for sure.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy it. It's nice to be sitting there having a family affair. So best of luck, guys.
We love you guys. We love Hawthorne.
Mel and Steve Simonovich,
we have
guys,
the best
here
community.
at the Horseshoe in Las Vegas. This is the National Handicapping Championships, the Horseplayers Championships here, brought to you by NTRA. Miller and Emily Gullikson here on the Hawthorne YouTube channel as we're covering the races, talking to a lot of players throughout the course of the racing day as well. And it's one of those things where the format is kind of set up a little bit differently. So on Friday, you're going to 6 mandatory races, 10 optional races. Tomorrow, Saturday, is really kind of the big day. That's your big moving day, almost like golfing, where you're going to have 12 optional races, 8 mandatory races, and then Sunday leading into the final table. But Emily, $800,000 top prizes out there. We're going to see kind of how things unfold as you're starting to get into the race day. You have them loading for the first here at Oaklawn Park Aqueduct's going, Tampa Bay's going, Gulfstream's going. So we're
right.
bringing in guests throughout the course of the day. What's going on, Ramon? How are you?
I'm good.
Thanks for coming out here today. And one of those things where we're just talking about strategy. We just had Mel and Steve Simonovich on, and they were talking about their strategy. And they basically said going into day one, they kind of knew what they wanted to do with their mandatories, but weren't quite sure on the optional end. How have you laid out things here for day one of the contest?
Right. So this is my second year, qualifying. And last year, I was a rookie, I didn't know what to do, so I was just going for long shots, right? And then I figured out that if I would have just kept my really smaller selection of just winners, maybe the 4 to 6 to 1 shots, then I would have made the money, instead of just trying to win it all. So that's my strategy this time. I'm concentrating on, 4 to 8 shot winners. If a cap horse that I really like, it must be something I really like.
One of the things we had such a unique year last year, because last year during the NHC there wasn't a single cap horse,
right.
which is so rare. I mean, we saw even yesterday. Hey, Dino, slide on in. That there were multiple cap horses. So when you talk about your strategy last year of being your first year of playing those long shots, I don't think that was a bad strategy because you're trying to win, right? You're thinking that if I get four cap horses, I'm in the money.
Right.
And all it's going to take out of those plays is to get 4. Now, when you take the strategy last year worked to kind of grind it out.
Right.
Because there weren't those cap horses, players that were playing 4 to 1s, 6 to 1s were able to move up there,
right.
but you had to hit a lot of them. So that's where it comes into play, right? That if you're going to take the strategy when you're playing like the 4, 5, 6 to 1 shot horses, you have to think, okay, in order to get to $200 or $220 to make that cutoff,
right.
how many of those am I going to have to hit?
Right.
Right? So those are the battles that you're going to have to take. Where you're taking a cap horse, you hit 120 to 1. That's the equivalent of 4 or 5 to 1s.
I think just for me it was the fear that last year, like you said, there wasn't that many.
There wasn't any.
And so
no
for the
caps.
stars,
Yeah.
and I landed flat on my face. So I was like, this year I'm kind of defensive and say, hey, let me just hit some winners and see if I can see where I'm at, and then I'll start shooting for the stars if I have to.
So this is the experience then for you of having one of these tournaments under your belt,
right.
and being in year 2. Dino, how about you? So we're talking strategy, just kind of going in, where you have a day like today where it's 16 races you're playing, then it expands to 20 tomorrow. What are you looking for on a day like today? Is it just try to get on the board, try to churn, or are you going to look for a couple of big plays?
There's been times where I've had $120, $130 after the first day and I imploded. And I made the semis, a couple times, and I've been second in the consolation. I usually do my best when I don't worry about the first day, and I'm shooting for like $70 today.
Okay.
Because inevitably that second day there's going to be caps, right? In my opinion.
It has been, especially this year with more races.
Yeah.
The scores could be higher. Yeah.
I was 6th on the board midday on a Saturday like 3 years ago, and there must have been like 5 caps in a row. And I was nursing a lead against 500 people, which is the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah.
And I imploded, and I even missed semis by a buck. Right. So I'm looking for like $70.
So I've known you for a while because I lived in Arizona, and you were you gave me great baseball and Suns tickets.
Right.
Good guy. But you've played here many times, and you're doing the mentor program, and so Ramon, this is your mentor.
This is my mentor.
So how is that kind of relationship as far as play? And I know it's kind of in this game, everybody has knowledge, even like player to mentor. So have you guys been able to kind of like learn and grow from each other?
Right. No, definitely. The NHC has set me up. It has a mentorship program signed up, and they put me with Dino. Dino's been great. He's kind of brought me into what they call their table 24. So even if I didn't make it, I've been here for 4 years. 2 years I didn't make it. The first 2 years I didn't make it, but just playing on there with them at that level, has made me want to get better. And then obviously you learn from him, from Dino, you learn from the other guys, and they're always open to kind of like, hey, this is what I do. Because not everything fits for everybody, right?
No, yeah, of course. Everybody has their own style, sure.
Some people use optics, some people use Equinix, some people use DRF, some people, So I've gravitated, and I've kind of now mold myself into what I like and what works for me. So it's been a great journey so far.
When he first called me, when Michelle Ravencraft called me to see if I'd be his mentor, he would ask me questions about the different tools. What I did with the people that I hang out with is the people that use black magic, he'd contact them, and they would explain it to him.
Throwback program.
The people
yeah.
he's using optics right now, I can tell from his computer, but the people that use optics, like Jeff Van Dree, he would talk to them. And so every tool, he had somebody to talk to, a Brisnet person, David Pierce. He talked to them, hey, what's the benefit of this, that, and then after talking to all of them over a year or two, he came out here as a guest of ours and sat at our table. And so he's probably as good or better than any of us right now.
Well, you're here.
I'm here.
And I mean, you got to be good to be here. And you won through Hawthorne.
Right.
You came up, you flew in from California. Right. And tell us a little bit about that. Again, I know we talked on Spaces, but
it's a great. For me, it was great because there's no rules, right? You can bet on anything you want, and it's an open forum. So like here's a mythical where you have the $2 wager, winner place, but there it's like any race, any kind of selection you want, right? Start with $300. There's no entry fee, which is the best.
Absolutely.
So, in my thoughts, the way I planned it out, like if I go like to Santa Anita or you're playing a $500 buy-in.
Yep.
$300 is your bankroll, and the $200 is for prize money, right? So if I did that 3 times, that's what I had. I had 3 entries, at
Hawthorne.
Hawthorne. So I said, it's $900. I paid for my trip to Chicago. I got to go learn a new place. Met a lot of people. John, Jimmy, Big Red, great people. And the people there at Crestwood were awesome. The hosts were there, Rhonda. Kudos to her. It's a great experience, and this is what we live for. We go out there and kind of experience it. And I just got lucky, and I concentrated on what I wanted to bet on, which was the coast to coast. And my strategy was, build some money so I can bet it 3, 4, 5 times.
Right.
But it didn't work. But at least I had it once.
You saved enough. You're like, I need to play it at least once, so I'm going to conserve this much.
What I did is
I love that strategy.
I played it right away because I knew myself that if I didn't, then I wouldn't have any. If I didn't hit, I wouldn't have any money at the end. So I played it right away, and then I started I hit some trifectas here, but at the end, luckily I still had that ticket because that's what got me here.
And that does work out well. And you talk about just the things that you've learned. I mean, it's not only the mentorship program, it's the camaraderie. I mean, there's 500 plus players in the room. There's so many opinions, so many ways to learn about racing. Like Emily mentioned, there's just so many different aspects for how you can learn to handicap. And we had talked to Steve Simonovich. He focuses a lot on replays. Others are just strictly numbers people. And it's one of those things where I think it does help to take everything in and kind of just get that input from everybody else. So when you're sitting here and you're at the table and it's people that how often are you, because you're still competing with one another, are you still kind of bouncing ideas and opinions off one another throughout the course of the day too?
Right. Well, our table's kind of like, they're like glued onto the screen. They're glued on. So
every man for himself.
We just had a table mate hit a 10-1. None of us had a 2 yet.
Right.
Okay.
And so everybody
nobody shares any information.
Yeah. Which is really good because that focus, you're playing on your thoughts. A lot of times what happens is, I like this horse, and like, oh man, but I like this horse, but he likes that horse.
I'd say we'd never done that.
I may have be on the wrong horse.
9 years.
So, but that's the cool thing. So then
it's
you're competing with one another, but it's still you're able to support one another. Where somebody is successful and moves along, that you can say, hey, this is my friend. This is my mentor. This is somebody that I want to see really good things for. And I think that's kind of the cool thing that you just see throughout the room as well.
I'll be honest with you, he just asked me who I had in that last race, and I was stressing, and I didn't answer this question until the race was over.
Yeah.
He knew I had someone, right?
Well, when we were talking earlier, you guys were invested in something early. So how has it gone so far as your plays and like what brought you to that decision? Or did you end up passing?
I watched a replay on a horse called Davy Jones, but of course he breaks and gives everybody a 5-length lead, and he didn't close. He came in third. And
did he break slow in the replay?
Well, no. I mean, he was absolutely great in the replay.
Yeah.
But so anyway, here's the deal though. I jumped the gun because it was when I bet it, it was 5-1, and then you know how it goes.
Yep.
He goes off at 5-2, and I would have never played him at 5-2.
Yeah.
And so now I'm 0 for 1, and I'm stressed because I had an Oakland Park race 2 pick, and I'm not going to play it. so that I can just wait till later on and see if I can hit some longer shots.
The beauty of it all is you have a lot more bullets to fire throughout the course of the weekend.
Yes. Yeah. The race is running till what, Turfway 6?
Yeah.
We never had that.
Yeah. What do you think about that change as far as having that later track? Do you think that how that's going to impact? Because I was talking to some people, especially with Turfway, because it's not, when we had the later races at Golden Gate, some people will be like, oh, it's Golden Gate, they're 5-horse fields, there's not going to be that much chaos. Yeah. But Turfway,
I'm not a Golden Gate fan,
but Turfway, you get those big fields, you can get a lot of chaos.
It's settling me in because I have a lot more time. I'm because I'm always edgy for a while. This is my 9th year and I'm still edgy. I met her the very first year. I played her and John Doyle. And I need to settle down. Sure. And I'm not a drinker with all these drink tickets. I can't settle down that way, So So this for me, it's a good move. It'll help me out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of ease in.
I'm not a Turfway person, so when I found out Turfway was underway, you best believe I started looking and see what I can find about Turfway, because you got to hold at least 1 or 2 bullets at the end to see where you're at, and kind of shoot for the star sometimes. But I think that's great.
And I'm not sure you have to save picks on Friday.
I was just gonna go there with that.
Before,
yeah,
and that doesn't make any sense.
No, because there's kind of that trade-off, right? Where it's like it kind of makes sense, right? If you're in the position where you're gonna play for day money, if you're in the position for day money, that can make a difference. But everybody, you could be in that camp where you're holding off tickets, you're holding off picks that you have to play, and then you end up playing something you don't really like.
Right.
Because I've been there, where you're like, oh, okay, maybe something will come later. Then all of a sudden you look at 3 races left and you're like,
oh, that's all that's left.
That's all that's left. And then, I got to play and it wasn't great and I should have passed on that. Yeah. So I think with Turfway, maybe it'll give some more options because there's those fuller fields. But there is that trade-off too, where people are waiting, and then there is that 10-1. There might be more action. It might not have as much value as the 10-1 in the third, early on.
And I like Kentucky. I was in the brilliant group with Joe Stupid. And very first 2 years, he had horses, and so I know the Kentucky horses pretty well. So that's, for me, it's a good move.
Well, and that's the thing that I think does help too with having so many optional races. Is if you do have a circuit that you follow, you can focus on that circuit and go into it with a little bit more confidence as well.
Right. You'll hear everybody yelling on this Gulfstream race because half the crowd loves Gulfstream.
Yep.
And big fields too. It's like a big fields turf. It's like there's some chaos in there. So there's that trade-off too, where you're like you really want to handicap those races because a lot of people are going to be involved, and hope that chalk gives you the defense. Because even though if everybody's playing it, not many people are playing the chalk.
So this interview is helping me settle down a little bit.
It's so funny.
Are you saying that if you're doing well, we're going to have to grab you each day then, Dino? That's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's so funny we do these things and everybody says that. They're like, it's so cool. Like you're just talking naturally and it puts you in your mindset.
Yeah. So did we get a long shot here?
It's like 4 to 5.
Yeah, 5-1 on the inside, and then there was the double-digit odds on the outside. Was one of those yours?
I was on the 5.
Okay, so you're going to get placement.
You might get placed, yeah.
So in that 5-horse was what, 19-1?
13-1.
13-1?
Yeah.
And that's the thing about it too. I mean, people like turf.
Yeah.
People focus on Gulfstream, like you said. That was a good effort out of that horse.
People like Irad in every race.
But here's the cool thing about it, though. You mentioned, okay, get on the board.
Right.
Start kind of making that progress a little bit.
It's a good looking 13-1.
You're going to get
that's how I saw it, right?
You're going to get a really good return there. And I'll be curious to see, because you did have a horse blow the turn. I don't know what caused the horse to blow the turn, if it was anybody else. But when you're watching a race like that at Gulfstream, you're seeing it come on the outside and you hear the atmosphere, you hear the crowd getting excited.
Right.
If you weren't sitting with us, would you have been up there?
I would have been yelling at that horse. Come on,
we can kind of see your face. I was like, I think he's got something.
Will he get there? I was like, will he get there?
I didn't ask him what he had either, right?
You know what though? That's like the great play, because you have no regrets, right? You get a good run, you get great odds, and you're like, okay, I'm not making any mistakes. I just racing luck at this point, right? Yeah. Good decisions, good racing luck.
If he would have been the inside horse, he probably would have won, right?
Or changed leads. It looked like he was on his left.
But
lead.
It's going to be a good return for you, so you're off to a good start. So, Dino, Ramon, here's the plan. Dino, if it's going to help you ease in each day, we will welcome you here to talk to you each day throughout the course of the weekend.
You know how it goes. Open invite.
Yeah, and guys, we wish you the best of luck. about
awesome.
it.
Thanks a lot.
This
You, Matt.
isn't
It's
quite
awesome.
front row seats to any Suns or
yeah,
Cardinals games, but it's front row seats
we still
at
have
our
the Suns
table.
and Cardinals tickets, but everything's
Dino, good luck.
Awesome.
Good luck this weekend.
We'll see you.
And
Thanks, Dino.
hopefully
Take
we're
care.
seeing you
All
at
right,
the
man.
final table.
All right, take
So,
care.
Emily, we just had it there. I mean, you talk about seeing the atmosphere and how things get kind of exciting as they move along. You have a horse on the inside at a decent price. You have a horse on the outside at a decent price. And they're coming in, and it looks like it is going to be the 3 on top of the 5. So some people are on the board. So that's one of those things where it does work out to start out the tournament. Now, as Emily works through her technical difficulties, James, you're in here. It's
I
day
lost the
1 of the
magnet.
contest. Have you played any races yet?
Oh, I just heard it.
Okay.
See, I got the next one at Tampa here coming up.
Okay.
I took the 7 horse.
Okay. Early on in the day, when you're looking at a day like Friday, and we've talked to everybody kind of about strategy, 10 optionals, 6 mandatories today, then 20 races you're going to have to play tomorrow. It's a long day of handicapping. Have you kind of mapped out your strategy for optionals early on?
That's kind of the approach I took, right? It's a long day, a lot of opportunity out there. I think one of the key things you need to do is create that roadmap, right?
Right.
Because there's so much available to you.
I think it's,
You know, as
there's
a
like
player,
weather,
right?
For some reason
You know,
it's
to
not.
get here, you know, a lot of things are chosen for you.
Yeah.
And you almost have to, you know, hey, I might like this, I might like this. Now, things change, as we all know, right? You know, Oak Lawn came up muddy today.
I saw that, yeah.
And
For something new at Oak Lawn.
yeah, right.
They give us,
I mean,
jeez.
so get the mud caulks out down there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think having that roadmap is essential. Having an idea.
Sure.
I think there's a lot of good opportunity late today.
And there are numerous tracks out there too, and they do have a stewards review on this race, and I don't know.
It's not flashing the top 2 though, so
No,
it
and
shouldn't.
it's a flash in
shouldn't
the third place finisher,
Yeah, so
right?
it won't impact this
Yeah.
tournament or Ramon or any.
Yeah.
So is this coming up on Tampa Race 4?
Yeah.
It's the 7 horses currently at 5 to 1. Is this your first play, or have you played?
I think it's my third.
So you're
my third. Yeah.
you say you're firing early.
I want to fire early. I think there's a little bit, you know, to get points early. You know, just get on the record books.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the score points. I think you can't win it the first day, but you can certainly go sideways pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So just get something on the board, go from there.
And that's kind of what we've heard too. I mean, some people say after day 1, I want to be at $100 or 120. Others say, okay, if I'm around 70, that's manageable.
Yeah.
So
Especially with 2 less races today, or 4
Right.
less. I mean, 2, I think, 18, 16 today.
yep, 16 today.
So
And
2
then
less
is
races
it 18
today.
tomorrow or 20?
20.
It's
20
20. So
tomorrow.
there's
12
4
optional
less.
and 8 mandatory.
4 less today, 4 more tomorrow. Either way you want to
Right.
look at it.
Yeah. So yeah, they're so kind of doing that same thing. I think kind of my approach is my roadmap is going to depend on how I do today.
Right.
So there's an opportunity to kind of middle ground, or you can go deeper.
So James, we said when we were talking yesterday, we sat together like at what? Well, we said 2017, 2018, or somewhere.
Might have been at
before
Treasure
that?
Island still.
Okay, so even before.
Yeah,
But
I
how
was
many,
on crutches.
how many times have you qualified and played?
This is my 6th time.
Okay.
So playing started in 2012.
Okay.
So just kind of got in, got hooked, and started reading, started learning, right? Following you guys, following your broadcast. I think the stuff you put out on Twin Spires is fantastic.
Thank you.
But yeah, you learn something new every day in this game. You get pretty humbled.
Did you get started from like tournaments or like betting? What was kind of your process?
So, funny story. At home with my fiance at the time. HBO Nut, if y'all remember the show,
Yeah.
Buck came out.
Yep.
Just started watching. I'm like, this is pretty interesting. So that Christmas, she got me horse racing for dummies.
Okay.
Nice.
And I'm from Columbus, Ohio. We still had Beulah Park.
Yep.
Running there.
Yep.
So about 15, 20 minutes away. Just go down there, test your 100 skill, whatever. And met a couple of my friends. They're like, hey, check out the contest scene, and just you get to travel, you get to meet a lot of new people, and it's great. So.
You look at contests and the different formats, and this is a win-place format.
Yeah.
Is there, aside from the mandatory races, then is there a certain price that you're going to say, hey, I'm not going below this price on an optional, or is it just like a certain ballpark that you look to?
Yeah, I think
And we'll cheer for this horse as
Yeah,
he's
'cause
making
he's starting to
moves.
make a move, yeah.
He's trying. You know, I think you kind of have to take what they give you. You know, certainly field size and all that kind of dictates that. So, come on, Sammy, stretch him out a little bit. That's not looking good for Sammy here.
No, he kind of made that middle move, and
he didn't put him in the best spot.
Yeah.
No, right when the race started to kind of pick up a little bit, but.
And there's a couple of prices. So for you want the 2 to hold on here.
Yeah.
And it looks like he will.
Yeah, 7-2 winner over 12-1, 10-1.
Yep.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
What I saw there is you don't want to be outside at Tampa.
Right,
today.
and that's what you have to learn too, because when it's such a long extended day and you're watching tracks, like you said, off track at Oaklawn Park, you have to watch and see how tracks are going to play early on in the day, and you have this full extended day. So now you can kind of sit back and say, okay, this is kind of my plan moving forward, and maybe you have to alter course a little bit.
Absolutely.
So in the 6 years, what's kind of like been your I always think it's weird to say like best success, because sometimes like you don't play your best and you have your best success, and sometimes you play your best and you don't have the best result. So in terms of like play, what has been some of like your better plays, better strategies, ideas?
You know, you kind of learn as you go, right? And I think extracting value is the name of the game, and you know, you try to go where your eyes don't want to take you, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Like,
kind of, yeah.
I mean, we all get in our processes and like, oh, this looks good, and kind of have to reverse your thinking a little bit, and then, you know, kind of, you know, just to kind of share, you know, candidly, you know, contests, you want to pass a lot of people, you want to eliminate other players from pools. You gotta play like 6-1 and up and out of the money horses, and if you find value in those, you can find a lot of success.
So Jim was asking about the optionals. What's been kind of your plan for the mandatories, and then what's kind of your plan for this weekend as far as the mandatories?
So overall, the mandatories, like today, I just think, you know, if you see something you like, you take it. I don't think you have to be outlandish in your picks, right? Just, you know, focus on what you know, what the track's yielding.
Right.
You know that like Oaklawn 5. You know, it was a muddy race today. I mean, I think there's that race can be shaken up.
That can be complete chaos.
Yeah. There's some early pace pressure in there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a dropper in there, that one on the mud, the 10 horse that probably take a lot of money, I think, from the outside. But yeah, I think you know, just kind of figuring out that puzzle, and I think you like something, you play it, right, and then just score points.
Right.
You know, you don't need to be a hero the first day. Just see something like play it.
It's so that Oaklawn race. Yeah. I have to turn my stuff in for Twin Spires like days in advance, and so I made. There's a horse in that race that I did make like my best bet of the day. So now it's like, oh great, now it's like even more pressure. But the reason of picking that race as a best bet, because I was like, this is a competitive race. There's you know, the favorites, they can win. The favorites can always win. But it's a race that there are so many opportunities. So when they picked that race, I was like, I'm not surprised, because this is a good betting race, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you got I can't remember if it's 3-year-olds or 3-year-old and up.
I think it's 3. I think
if it's 3, if there's older horses in there.
There's older horses, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that race you might want to lean to some of the older horses.
It's not Gulfstream.
But I mean, there's some horses stretching out for the first time that fit this race. So that might be where I look.
And it's the beauty of having the mandatories a little bit later in the day too.
Yeah.
You can see how the track's playing, but you can also see the board early on. I just heard them mention that somebody has hit on three optionals already, 3 of their first 4.
Fantastic.
And that's going to happen a little bit early on, but you can't panic either. When you have 500 plus players in the room, and a lot of this is later in the day, you can still kind of stick to your strategy a little bit, especially early.
Well, the thing is if you can hit 3 in the row, you know you can miss 3 in a row.
Of course.
So it's like it's so early days. I mean, it's like, oh, well, you got lucky. It's like, well, I missed 3 in a row. There's not, you know, when you're a good sound player, there's not much difference between those two. It's weird to say, but the more that you do this, that makes so much sense. Is like those patterns, and I think it's almost more pressure when you do hit 3 in a row, because you're like, I have to just keep going. I have to keep grinding, and that's hard. I mean, that's
people
hard.
are going to be watching that, and it is.
You know?
Well, that happened to me 2 years ago, day 2. Had a very mediocre first day, and then I came in the morning and hit 3 long shots in a row, and I'm like top 2 on the leaderboard.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to do.
Right.
So
keep firing bombs. Just try to rip it open.
That's what I should have done.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just like I overthought it. Like I gotta preserve this, right? And
Right,
no,
but it's great that you mentioned that because we were just talking to
yes.
Dino about a very similar situation, and that's what he said. And he said he almost got too complacent the other way after moving up instead of just sticking to kind of his strategy in that.
Yeah.
So you almost have to take, the results, and yes, you did well, but you can't alter how you're going to play based on the prior results either.
Yeah, and that's where like the experience coming in, playing like a live format versus a pick and pray. Right. You know, pick and pray, I hope for the best. You know, but the live is, there's a little bit of game theory involved, right? If you can build that lead, you know the pack is chasing you. I mean, you just know it, right? So that eliminates some horses for you.
Sure.
And you can actually play more aggressively.
Sure. So, and then last question for you, just a preference for tournament style. You have this preference, you have the live money bankrolls, you have the pick and pray. I mean, there's definitely different strategies, y'all. Do you prefer one over the other?
You know, I'm a fan of pick and pray. I've had success at both.
Okay.
You know, having that flexibility and a live to like, you know, hey, it rained maybe later in the day, or just, you know what, I see a track play in a certain day, like I don't want an outside runner, or I might have in the afternoon. Just switching that and seeing how. So I like that. The live money, you know, that's tough too because, you know, bankroll is bankroll, right? You can get pretty aggressive based on what type of format you're playing.
Right.
So in any of the contests, right, I think the underlying theme is just value. You know? So,
well, one of the things that Steve Simonovich mentioned earlier is he was talking about a horse that's like 5-2, right? Like a 5-2 in this tournament, especially if it's an optional, you pretty much pass, right? Even if you love it, it doesn't fit this tournament, right? But if in like a live money, if you love a 5-2, you can do some damage.
Absolutely.
You can do serious damage because you can maximize your bankroll towards that opinion. And here it's like, maybe if you're like on the cusp of like money, it's, you know, it can give you some value, but like early on in the day. So there's so many different ways as far as the tournament of approach and how you can maximize that opinion.
Right. I mean, if you really like a 5-2 day one, I say play it, right? Because I mean, that's what, $10-11.
Take your money and build.
It is. Yeah. I'm coming from. I feel like maybe at some point I would have said that. I think there is a time and a place, but I think now if I'm coming in at like day one, if I'm like taking on a player standpoint, I'm thinking this tournament is one that you have to win. And it's gonna, and looking at the prior scores, it's like 320 to 350 wins.
Right.
So for me on day one, I'm like, I need to get to 350. Is $11? I've got a lot of work to do after $11.
Yeah.
You know, where like if you're playing, if you have a 25-1, if you're playing bombs, right?
Yeah.
That horse runs second, you're already at 11, 12.
Right.
Oh, well, if it's a capper, you're at 22. So you're even in a better position. So to me, it's like, I get it. You can put yourself on the board, but if your goal is to get to that 350 number, let's say, let's go even higher than what it takes.
Right.
That's a long grind from $11.
Yeah. I think, I mean, there's different ways to look at it. I think, you know, the cut lines, for me, the first goal, right, is 320 wins it, but, I mean, probably going to take, depending on the prices that came in. If they came in like yesterday, it might be a little higher, but I'm thinking 175, 200 in that range probably is going to be the cut line. So, I mean, start there first.
Yeah, first goal, get there.
Work your way up. I mean, you know, if you see something you love, $11, like, I get it, it's 11, but in
this tournament, there's so much money. There's 800,000. Like, you just don't have that opportunity to hit 800,000.
Well, you can
like
pass
hitting
a
the
lot
cut.
of people though with $11 that you wouldn't have later. That's kind of how I'm looking at it.
That's what I'm saying. There's a time and a place where it makes sense, like from a strategy, right? Like
where
it could get you there, but even if you, because like the cut, between the cut, which is 10% of the room, and the top 10, it has a big jump, right? So even if you're like, okay, I'm just going to try to make the cut, if your goal is to get that 800,000, which it should be because there's so few opportunities to get that bag, like you still have like a, you know, you have a mountain. So that's just me. But again, everybody has their own kind of path.
And to me, that kind of comes down to the roadmap, right? Is like, I want to get to that big number. How am I going to do it? Right?
Yes.
And I think if you can get to that with an $11 winner, do it. If you're more of a 8-1 and up type player, do it. Right. I think there's no right way, but I mean, either way, your horse has to,
You got to get,
first.
you got to get to that.
have-
You got to
you
get to
gotta
that
have some
number.
luck, right?
Yep.
So-
All right, and then-
Luck for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so then James, I see, just looking at your shirt,
Yeah.
we got a good little golf pin. We're all set. You got the players going on this weekend. Are you one that's going to be watching multiple screens, horse races, and golf this weekend?
I did put a little wager on Jason Day.
Okay.
Being from Columbus, he's from Columbus, so all the best.
You got to keep one eye on the Players
all the
Championship.
Best. Yeah, I mean, I think it went pretty low yesterday. So.
Are you following it too?
Oh, of course I'm following.
Did you
Come on.
did you make plays?
Of course I made plays. That's what.
All right.
I'm a Rory guy,
Yeah.
so I played him early on. but-
And while you mentioned golf,
Yeah.
this game is much like playing golf. Okay, it's you can't hit driver every race. You know what I mean? You have to kind of, the shot calls for a 9-iron for 100 yards. Hit your 9-iron, right? So you kind of have to strategically approach how you want to do it. That's kind of how I look at it. With that background, is just take what they give you.
And here's the thing, you know what? You know what you're doing because you've qualified numerous times, so you can't change that strategy too much.
Right.
But we want to wish you the best of luck this weekend.
Yeah,
Thank you for
absolutely.
coming
Yeah,
on and
thanks for
joining
coming
us. You got
We're
a couple
sitting at the
races
same
till the
table
mandatories.
again.
So.
Yeah, we are. Yeah,
A throwback.
I can walk this time.
Well, there you go. So enjoy the weekend.
Yeah.
Good luck. Hopefully we're covering you and talking about you for the final table. But
Absolutely.
hey, make the cut line first. That's
right.
what we want to see, and we'll
That's the
focus
goal.
from there.
That's the goal. All right.
Good luck.
All right,
Thank you for
awesome.
joining
Be
us,
out in
James.
Chicago in August.
And
for
we're
Metallica.
looking forward to having
Oh,
you
yeah?
out there.
Yeah.
They
You
put
gotta
on-
come out
they
for a
put on great
tournament.
show. Did
Yeah.
you know Metallica performed in the infield at Hawthorne?
They did.
They have.
Oh.
Can we get him back?
That would be amazing.
Yeah, sign me
Metallica
up.
took over the infield of Hawthorne. We had 75,000
What?
people out there.
What year was this?
And it was one of the greatest contests
That sounds
ever.
amazing.
Or greatest concerts ever. It was 03.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
Well-
03 because we were out there, and the cool thing about it is you had Limp Bizkit, who opened for them,
Blues or something.
and Fred Durst got all mad and stormed off the stage.
Okay.
And then Metallica came on, because remember Behind the Music for VH1 when they used to do that?
Yeah, yeah.
They were there filming that, so they played an extended set. Everybody loved it. It was absolutely amazing.
I need to know more details about this.
We'll get you more details.
I have so
James-
many questions now.
Now we're inviting James if Metallica back out there. So
I'm definitely coming for that.
yeah. So but hey,
Horses and beats. To
That-
Metallica,
yeah.
there you go. But best of luck this
Thank you.
weekend.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
again for
Yeah,
joining
you bet.
us.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're seeing you on the
Yeah.
cut line
Thank
and seeing you
you.
on Sunday.
Absolutely.
You
Take
got
care.
it.
Yep.
James Lafferty joining us there on day one here of the National Horse Players Championships. Emily, we're going to wrap things up for segment one of the day, but that's just a little break for us because we're going to be getting into the mandatory races and that soon, and then we're going to be getting into
Hi, Nick. How's it
everything.
going?
Nick's joining us. Nick the Kid. This is Nick the Kid. So it's one of the things. Nick's been a fixture in Chicago racing.
He just came up here and he goes, "You have me blocked on Twitter."
Nick, I'm sorry, man. I like the shirt.
Nick, I'm going to rectify.
The shirt's
Tomorrow is even better.
You're bright, you're shiny, you're sparkly. Are you playing?
I'm not in the tournament.
Okay.
I'm hanging out with Steven now.
They're two guys that we had on the show earlier, so they are great guys. So hopefully they'll be able to play well. Hopefully Steve's getting another final table.
So maybe you can enlighten me
Yes,
on this
yes.
casino.
The movie was a great movie.
No.
Joe Bob Briggs was in it.
Casino.
I think you're going to see exciting things very soon. How about that?
Because when I put my information in,
Okay.
it said it's not happening because you took all the information off the website.
No, there's nothing to do with anything. All we're doing is we're transitioning
we
on our
cut?
website, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have additional picks, that kind of stuff. So,
Because I saw there
Yep.
was no more information
Okay.
about the casino on the
oh, don't worry about it.
website.
Yep.
Even when you go click
All
on
right,
the
we'll be back for the
construction,
second. We'll be back for the second session. Back at 1.
Yep. Nope. No.